I lost everything. My bank account went down to zero, but yet in 7 months' time, I didn't have to give up the private schools or the holidays or anything like that. I was back on track. If we want to have those bigger jumps, then we've got to deal with the stuff that we don't want to deal with or we don't even know it is there. We cannot get there from the current reality. We need to let go of the old self to be able to get there.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the Vibrant Soul Society, The Conversations. I'm your host, Baba Sam, the Miracle Man. My goal for this podcast is to remind you that you are greater than your thoughts. So twice a week, I bring forward guests to inspire us, provide wisdom and life tips on how to live a better life, going beyond all this mental debris. So, welcome to the conversations, Paula. It's great to see you.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
So, for people that are not familiar with you, who is Paula?
Okay. Well, as you can probably gather, I'm an Aussie. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. And I didn't start off talking about money mindset or talking about money really. Well, I did start off with money though. And I started off my corporate career as an accountant and I climbed the corporate ladder very, very fast. I was for two reasons. First reason, there was a big push for women to get leadership jobs. So I got on that bandwagon and thought, yes, put my hand up for all the things. The second reason why I climbed the corporate ladder really fast is because I had my first child at 26 and I'd sort of built my career a little bit by the time he was about to go to school. And he wasn't like other kids. He didn't develop the same way and he still wasn't walking. By the time he went to school, he couldn't walk more than 10 steps without falling over. And I had to make a decision to either be that full-time carer or go earn the money for the family. And I knew he needed so much care. And my dad made that decision for me. My dad stepped in, he retired at 53. He took over the caring responsibilities for me. And I went and I pushed that career to the limit. And I got to the point, like a lot of people probably here listening to this, where I realized that I built that career and I had everything that I wanted, but I didn't ever see my family. Like I just had no time. So I wanted a change. And the first change I did, I actually was listening to a podcast, probably very similar to this, right? And I remember listening to the podcast and then there was these people that came on and it was an American podcast and they came on and they had a business idea and they did it and they put these t-shirts on Amazon. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to follow. I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to do it. Right. And I went for it and I started to put these t-shirts up on Amazon. A little while later, my t-shirts on Amazon hit the top 10 pages on Amazon. And what that meant for me was I was making money in my sleep. And that was the first sort of like, oh my gosh, I don't have to go to work to make money. I could do it a different way. And I thought, wow, I can do this. But just before I could jump fully into doing the t-shirts and I had the business set up and it was going and I was making more money than I was in my corporate job at that point, I had a relationship breakdown. And I don't know if anyone's experienced that, but it was very sudden. And I ended up walking out with my car, my kids, a box of Barbie dolls, the clothes that I could carry, and my bank account cleared to zero. And I had to start again. I had to move in with my family and start again just before 40. And I lost the business because I made a really big mistake and didn't have that in my name. It took me about 7 months to get myself back on track. And this is where the real magic of the universe sort of takes over. You have I really feel like you have these money set points. Now, I am someone who had a beautiful life. Like we had nice cars, like I had a great job, like beautiful home, gorgeous holidays, kids at private schools. Like it was a good life, right? I lost everything. My bank account went down to zero, but yet in 7 months' time, I didn't have to give up the private schools or the holidays or anything like that. I was back on track, right? It's like we come back to that set point. Obviously, I didn't stay in the corporate career. I was like, oh, I've got to do something. I actually had a coach for the t-shirt business, which I no longer had. I actually hired another coach on a credit card, which I'd never done before. And I paid up front. It was really crazy. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I need your help. I need something. And I built this business. And that was about 5.5 years ago now.
Wow, that's really a remarkable story that you had all this going on in your life, yet you managed to reset because you were forced to reset. At zero, we have all these challenges. I have a child that needs attention and just all this responsibility and stress. Yet you pulled yourself out of it. What was that motivating factor for you to pull you up? Because most people have been overwhelmed, like, this is too much. I give up.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's what everyone expected me to do. And I feel like, my family around me would have been happy if I sat there and gave up for a little bit. But I just couldn't. By that stage, I actually had 3 children. So I had 2 more after that. So I was like, I've got to look after these kids. I've got to make sure that they have a good life. And I also was at the top of my career. Like if I went any further, I would see nobody. All I would do is just really pretty much live. And I knew I had to get out of that. I knew for myself, I started to look around, and I don't know if anyone else has been in this situation where you start to look around at your colleagues and people start to get sick. Everyone seems to get a back injury or they get cancer or they get something because there's so much stress in their bodies. And I didn't want that. I thought, no, I want to help more people in some way with the skills that I have. And I want to see my family more. That was just my main drive at that point. And I didn't stop. Like I was just like, I'm going to work and I'm going to work on myself and I'm going to learn. I don't remember sleeping very much. I remember getting up very early because I was like, I'm committed. I'm going to still work out because I've got to have my mind right. And I'm going to start to learn how to do these sales calls. I'm going to start to learn how to take on clients and help people through my coaching. And that's how it all started.
Oh, that is lots of information there. But yeah, a lot of people are stressed out and overwhelmed with life, and that really reflects in the body. Like my own case, I was sick and disabled because I was so stressed, so overwhelmed. But you've found something in your mindset. I think that was a very important key that you said, well, I still need to work out. I still need to do the stuff. You really were focused on your mindset, and that's unusual. Most people are not focused on their mindset when they're overwhelmed. They're pretty much in panic mode. But it doesn't seem like you were in panic mode. It's like, right, I have to get this coach. I have to figure out something here. So what really was that driving force to really keep you going when life was really pushing you down?
Yes. I love this question. And I feel like at that point, it's almost like all the podcast listening that I'd been doing beforehand, where listening to things like this, interviews like this, had taught me to quiet my mind, to go quiet. And instead of allowing myself to take in more, I almost got rid of things. Like I got rid of alcohol. I got rid of TV. I got rid of more inputs. And so my mind went quiet. So when I was walking to and from work before I got the business done, as I was getting the business set up, all that was going through my mind was how beautiful are these trees? Like how grateful that I'm here. Like look at the sun on my skin. That's that kind of thing, that the gratitude for just, I am here and I am still going. Not, I had to get rid of all of the complaining, all of the blame, all of that kind of chatter and all of the guilt and shame that I was previously feeling because of the situation. Because I, had to move back home with my parents, and it was like I was almost 40. I turned 40 in brand new home with no furniture. Like, it was just a really interesting time that I'm sure other people go through. And as you said, the body holds that stress. You've got to do a shift in your mind to let go of it, because if you hold it, it comes out in disease.
You did something that most people don't do. You reduce your inputs. A lot of people are very distracted and they're not focused because they don't want to deal with this situation. It's very hard to face that. So we distract yourself. And you instinctively, maybe from the podcast or whatever's like, nope, I need to reduce all this noise. Less
Yes.
chatter. So it sounds like you had a gratitude practice. Did you have like any kind of meditation or mindfulness as well? Or was it pretty much gratitude and just being thankful for everything?
I had been practicing meditation for a really long time before that. Because I had such a stressful career, I had adopted that practice beforehand and just started meditating and learning how to meditate a number of years before that. So I already had a meditation practice in place, and that is still in place today. Like, I feel like that meditation practice is key, and the gratitude, absolutely. Like, just acknowledging that, we're here, and how beautiful is it that we're tapping into this incredible world around us. It's every single day. If we can begin to notice those things, and what happens is when we begin to notice more of those beautiful things, more of those beautiful things happen because our mind's looking for them. Our mind's now looking for the beautiful things, the good things. And the more we tell ourselves those things, the more they come into our awareness. But if we're distracted, or we're distracted on social media, or we're distracted on TV shows, or, we're distracted in the latest gossip or whatever it is, or even just chilling out with, a glass of wine or two, we're not going to be present to what the beauty is around us. And that's where we can't see the changes in it. We can't notice that there's sometimes some glitches that happen. There's some things in our reality that can start to shift. We won't notice them if we're still stuck in the reality of that you had yesterday and the day before and the day before that. We need to come out of that. To be able to come out of that, we need to quiet that mind through meditation, or through a gratitude practice, or through intentionally allowing yourself to disconnect from things.
Mm.
Like, I would often put my earbuds in when I'm walking down the street, but nothing's in them. It's more so people won't distract me. They think that I'm listening to something. She's talking to someone. Back then, it would have been like, she must be talking to someone, because no one would have been walking around really listening to things. She must be talking to someone. But all that's going through my mind is my mantras and my practice, not all the good thoughts that I'm going to put in there.
So that's an important key that you had meditation in place. You already had that in place. I think it's always interesting when I talk to people and really start to unwind. It's like, oh, you did learn meditation. It's almost like you knew something bigger was coming in your life and you had to prepare yourself. I'm seeing this quite a bit of people where they're learning something, but then that skill really comes into play when everything goes awry and like bank account zero. And you mentioned something that a lot of people are struggling with, the guilt, the shame, especially at the relationship breakdown. It must have been a lot of like, what did I do wrong? And all that guilt.
Yes, like, it was. I think at the beginning of that, all that guilt and shame around it, because it was so unexpected. It was so unexpected for everybody that, my family was sort of just like, go fix it, go fix it. Couldn't fix it. And I didn't understand that I couldn't fix it, and that I wasn't going to be going back and fixing it. So I had like this guilt that, they want me to go back, but I'm here, I'm in their house. And when I walked away, I don't know what happened, but all of the joint friends that we had walked away from me as well. So something must have been said. And so I found myself very much alone. I remember calling my sister and saying, it's just you and me. That's it. It's just you and me. And she didn't even live near me. She was like, I'm going to come and help you. She lived like 7 hours away. I think when we hold on to this guilt and shame, and I've since learned this over the years, and I do a particular practice every single year to release it, because I think we continually get this into our lives. But if we hold on to that guilt and shame and then try and manifest, then try and make money, then try and manifest a beautiful relationship, this is the thing. We cannot do it from that space of having that guilt and shame. We've got to let go of that first. Unless we let go of that first and allow that to dissolve and to move forward, then we will never move forward, because we're moving forward from the old self still. We can't jump forward. And that's where I think a lot of people struggle. They think, I'm doing all the right things to manifest money. I've got my mindset right. I've got all the things happening. But they haven't gone back internal, and there's some hidden guilt and shame and anger and sadness. And until you release that or let it go, and it doesn't have to be a huge practice. It doesn't have to be a huge, long healing journey, but you do have to let it go.
That's a big challenge for a lot of people, letting go and releasing, because the mind is
Mm.
addicted to thoughts and past behavior patterns. So, what's your technique to let it go, to release it for those that?
Yes. And I'm with them. Like I actually just thought that I was okay. I thought, I don't have any of this. I'm good. Because I was that kind of person. I'm totally fine. No, I've got over it. I'm good. And until I found myself, I thought, because I'm starting a coaching business, I needed a coaching certification. I lost all of my certifications and everything because I lost all my stuff, right? So I had to go get a piece of paper. And so I just went to a coaching NLP training. I was like, all I signed up for was to get my paper again, really. And I walked into that NLP room and I got more than I bargained for. I ended up going through a process, which is a breakthrough process. And that breakthrough process absolutely changed my life. I couldn't believe how I reacted to situations differently. It allowed me to let go in such a short amount of time. The guilt, the shame, the anger, the sadness, all the things. That is the same practice that I use. I ended up going on and doing a lot more NLP. I ended up being an NLP leader for 2 years in big NLP rooms, because that practice changed my life. It allowed me to let go of things. And I've since practiced more things and letting go and letting it dissolve. I see people get stuck in this. I see people think that they need to do a long healing journey. And I agree. We are addicted. Our minds and our bodies are addicted to thinking the same thoughts. And we're completely oblivious to it most of the time. And the moments where you can wake yourself up to that are in those moments of meditation, because you're going to stop the mind chatter, are in those moments of gratitude, or are in those moments where you're going to stop yourself and remind yourself. And that's hard. It's not easy to do. It's because you're so unconscious to just going throughout your day that you're going unconscious to thinking those negative thoughts all the time. So we need to stop them. And to stop them, for me, I do that practice once a year to clear it, do a big clear, but also the practice of meditation, also the practice of journaling, also the practice of, reflecting on, where did I go unconscious today? Where did I just react without really thinking of my next level self and how she would react? How can I react differently? And it's those moments where you can pause and be present and be in that moment of now and decide that you're going to react differently. That's the strength. It's not knowing all the things. It's really anyone can do this. It's just we need to come back into that moment and decide that we're going to react in a different way to the things in our lives. And that's when things in our lives and people in our lives start to change, because we're changing. We're changing how we're reacting to our life and what we're creating. And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes meditation isn't enough because I met many meditators that aren't aware of what's buried in their subconscious, especially if it's early childhood. It's just not visible. So you need some other techniques to like NLP, hypnotherapy, whatever it may be to illuminate that. Like, oh, look at,
Exactly.
yeah, because it just reminds me of like
Mm.
this woman in her 30s was having relationship issues, and I was able to tie it back to something that happened at 5 or 6, and she was
Yeah.
completely unaware of it. But,
Yes.
it was that buried nugget that she's like, "Oh, yeah, that. I forgot all about that." Well, it's having a great impact on your life today.
Yes. Yeah. Isn't it? It's just most people don't think that, right? But we are, that's when we're taking it all in, that at that age, that 5, that's, 0 to 7, like we're taking all of those things in. We don't even know. It could be something so small, but it is having a huge impact because our child self, reacted to it in a certain way and took on a certain belief.
And it was a really a small event that she was like around 6 years old. They moved to a different area and she couldn't participate in a dance recital because she didn't know the routine. So she felt not good enough.
See? And then that not good enough gets carried through your whole life.
Yeah.
But it's just something so small, so silly that you could let go of and go, actually, that doesn't need to have an impact.
Yeah. And if you don't have recall, it's just completely a blind spot or
Yes.
preventing us, blocking us. And they're usually around guilt, shame, not good enough, not worthy.
Mm,
Is this what you're primarily seeing? Is you're trying to clear these blocks?
yes. Like if we don't clear these blocks, then we keep on doing the same things. And it's what we were talking about before, that our minds think the same thoughts, our bodies do the same things, and we end up with the same results. No matter how much we try, like there's a lot of people out there going, oh, but I'm doing all of these extra actions. And we've been taught in this world to go, okay, if we want something, we need to do more. We need to give it more effort, or we need to learn a new skill. Part of the process is action, but it's not all of the process. And if we start with the action and our minds are doing the same thing and our bodies are doing the same thing, then we generally don't get anywhere. And what happens is we end up overworking ourselves. We get really, really stressed. And then we haven't got any further. Often we have like a bit of a set point with and I was talking about this before, a set point with our money. Like you'll get back to that point regardless. For me, I got back to the point where my kids are still at the private schools. Like no one from the outside would have known that anything was going on. If we don't do the work on the beliefs and the issues that are going on underneath first to release, then it doesn't matter how much action or how much strategy I can give anyone to make money, then they're not going to make any more than really what they're making right now with the action that they're taking. They're probably just going to burn themselves out doing it. Right. So we're going to earn a little bit more, but not heaps more. If we want to have those bigger jumps, then we've got to deal with the stuff that we don't want to deal with, or we don't even know it is there. I'll share a story too, because this beautiful client, I was speaking to her the other day, Kerry. So Kerry owned a PR company. She's like owned her own company for 19 years. And she came to me and she's like, all of my sales have pretty much stopped. I've got outstanding invoices. She's like, I don't know what's going on with my business, but I feel like there's something there. Right. And she's like, just give me a strategy. I just need a strategy to go. And I'm like, yep, Kerry, I think you need to do this. And she's like, yep, good. So the first session we're in there and it's all mindset, right? And she's like, after the first session, she messages me and she's like, Paula, but just give me the strategy. I'm good to go. Seriously, I'm good to go. I'm like, Kerry, you need to just go through this process with me. trust me on this. Anyway, I'd say it was maybe about 3 weeks in, Kerry messages me and she's like, oh my God, I thought that I needed the strategy, but I just went deep on this. What I didn't know before I met Kerry, because I just met her at that point, is she'd actually had a stroke and she'd recovered from a stroke. And her mindset block when we went through that was she needed to be saved. Her block was, I need to be saved. I want someone to save me. And she was the sole income earner of her family. She had a child and a husband, and she felt all of that pressure. She's like, I created a situation where I actually had to be saved. Like I had to be saved by the doctors. And she's like, this just has woken me up to what has been going through my whole life. Once we shifted that Kerry didn't do anything different in her business. But those invoices that were outstanding started to get paid. She's like, I don't know what's going on, but those invoices are getting paid. And I've got 2 new clients that have reached out to me. She's like, I haven't done anything different. I haven't turned up online anymore. I haven't tried to do any more promotion. She's like, but 2 people have reached out to me and these bills are getting paid. Kerry's now really busy in her business. So she's got clients again. And she took her family on a dream holiday to Hawaii. And all because she took the time to release the block that was in her way. And she went deep. She went deep on that block to go, okay, I need to get rid of this, but where has it come from? And seeing where it had affected her in her life. This is the key, right? We cannot get there from the current reality. We need to let go of the old self to be able to get there.
Well, that's has really resonated with me as well. Needed to be saved. That really resonated because I was sick disabled for 38 years. It was always the doctor's job to fix me. It was always their
Yeah.
responsibility. And I was just hands off and I was getting sicker and sicker. My health was getting worse and worse because it was their job to fix me and said, nope, that's my responsibility. But I still think there's something there, though. I'm really have to sit with that. Is there still is an element in there within myself where I need to be saved because I was locked into this pattern for 38 years. So there's an inkling within me that there's something to that that's still hanging out there. That's not serving me. It's creating a block in some way.
Yeah. It's a long time, isn't it? Like when you think so many years that you spend in that space, but to come out of it and to allow yourself to take that responsibility. And we think we're taking responsibility. That's the thing. Often we think, oh no, I'm taking responsibility. I'm doing the right things. I'm letting the doctors do their job. We think we're doing the right things, but I love what you said there, that you had to finally take that responsibility to go, actually, it's my job to see this to get better. And what a lot of my work is based on, as well as a lot of Joe Dispenza's work. And it's just, you have to take the responsibility and you have to see it differently to come into that space. It's so important.
Yeah, that's really it, that agency. It's so difficult for a lot of people to take that self-responsibility because we're taught not to trust yourself, that the answer is always outside of ourselves. And that's why I want to remind people that you are greater than these thoughts. And beyond those thoughts is this beautiful, bright, vibrant soul that's saying, let's go this way. Let's do this. Let's have this excitement, this fun, but we get these energetic blocks. And like you're talking about this client, she has an energetic block, but once the block was cleared, everything just started to flow differently. It wasn't about her doing any kind of different actions either.
And
It was
yeah,
strictly energetic.
yes. Yeah. And I think we forget that and we're not aware of that. We still think it's so ingrained. Do the action, do more. If you want more, you do more. Work harder. But actually, in all the spaces where it's happened for me or it's happened for a client of mine, it's been a shift in energy. It's been actually slowing it down and removing things from the life rather than taking on more. And I think a lot of people go to the next strategy and they're looking for the next strategy. And absolutely, at some points, you need strategy. You need to know how to do it. I get that. But if we don't clear these things first, it doesn't matter how many strategies you take on, you're still going to do the old patterns because that's ingrained in you. And you need to let go of that first. And I think that's where a lot of people miss it. They're like, but I'm doing all the things and I'm thinking good thoughts, or I'm thinking, and I've done that too. I've thought, I'll just think positive thoughts. But that sort of stuff won't absolutely shift the beliefs underneath it. As you said, some of them are very hidden. You don't know that they're there. They're completely unconscious to yourself on a day-to-day basis until you go through something like the process you described or the process I'm describing. You don't recognize it. You don't even know that it's there. And once you go through that process and you can see it, it's like you can't unsee it. It's like you can see that it's had an effect all the way through your life. And now you've got to let go of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I know that there's an inkling within me that there's a save element in me that's hidden someplace, really deeply hidden from age 6. I need to go root that out and see that I can see where this is playing in my life today, where things aren't going as smoothly as one would expect. But okay, so there's something here. You
Yeah.
find those nuggets still within your journey of something
Yes.
still hidden.
Yes. All the time. I feel like there's always another level and another thing to come through. That's the work. And I always say that to my clients. This is the work that we do. The work is every single day becoming present with yourself and how you're reacting and how you're like slowing things down and being in the moment. That is the main work. If you can do this work, then you can layer on all of the strategies. You can set things up to make money or manage your money and all of the things. But if you continue just to react in the same way and do the same things, we're just not going to get there. And so this is the work that most people will glaze over or think that they've done or go, you know what, I'm okay. I don't need this. I don't have any guilt. I don't have anything left there. But it's the people who are like you, like myself, like the clients that have come to me, who are willing to go there and go, you know what, there is another block. I'm doing another session like this on myself tomorrow. I do this work with another coach. Like he will do it for me because I believe in it. I know there's always something that I can move past, but also I know that I can move past it fast with processes like this. Like I don't need to sit in it and talk about it and bring it out all of the time. Like we need to be able to dissolve that very, very quickly to be able to move on. And then that's where the energy picks up because and I think that people listening might get this, then we can tap into a different collective consciousness, right? When we become a different person, our energy is going to tap into something different. And when our energy is blocked, we don't see that something different. We're in our head. We're constantly doing the same thing. So we're going to create the same reality. And that's why we get up and most of the time our days are very, very similar. But as soon as you can start to bring some of this work in and start to think a different thought or react in a different way or slow the mind chatter down, they're the moments where you can then get past the current reality into something that's completely different.
Right. That's so important. Sometimes we're not even aware that we're doing the same things. It's just a different flavor, but yet it's still the same thing. Like you're constantly attending workshops, you're going to different teachers, and you're like, I'm going to a different teacher, that's a different thing. No, it's the same thing. Just really
Yes,
curious, do you believe that some of these blocks could even be related to a past life or a past experience?
absolutely.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm starting to see this now when I'm working with people. Like oh, this is coming from a different timeline that you're not even aware of that's being pulled into this moment.
Yeah, I've seen that too. My personal belief is we're all energy, and energy is not created or destroyed, it just is. And so those realities that you want are there for you. Also, the realities that you don't want are also there for you. How do we get into that timeline? How do we launch ourselves onto the timeline that we want to be into? We need to let go of some of that energetic pull to be able to do that.
Because the mind is addicted to the familiar, what's comfortable in the past. Stepping in a new way forward, the mind does not like. It's unknown, it's scary.
Yes, so true.
So the money mindset is really about clearing out those blocks that are preventing you from it might not be doing anything different. You could be doing all the right things, but could be something within you that's blocking that you're completely
Yes.
oblivious to.
I'll explain it like this because I think that a lot of people get stuck with money. But when it comes to a relationship, they can relate because maybe they've seen a friend attract the same relationship over and over again. And I think most of us have probably been in that situation where you've worked with someone or you've had a friend or you've got a sibling, and they always seem to have the same problems in their relationship over and over again. Like they get a new person, but it's the same problems, right?
Mhm.
And they can't see it. They can't see that they're attracting the same person over and over again. They just think, oh, relationships don't work for me. I always attract bad people. I don't want to date anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. When really, the reason why they're attracting the same people and the same relationships is because they haven't healed that stuff in themselves. We're just really attracting what's inside.
Mm.
And that's the hard bit to take on board. That if we want to attract a different relationship, if we want to get a different thing happening in our lives, if we want more money in our lives, we want to attract a different level of money and wealth, it's the same thing. We actually need to become a different person. Can't be the same person and turn up in the same way and expect a different result. We have to make that shift. And so that means that person, if they wanted to attract someone different, then they need to show up differently. They need to actually think different thoughts. They need to actually react differently in relationship situations. And that means slowing down and going, right, I would usually react like this when this happens, but actually I'm going to react like this. And I'm just going to see if that makes a difference. And I think a lot of the time it's the same with money, right? We've got to react differently. And it's in those little moments of allowing yourself to do this that you're going to allow yourself to let go. Because otherwise, all of those blocks that come in, those blocks of I'm not good enough or I'm not good with money, or it could have been, it showed up in one of my daughters. I've got 5 children now. I've got a new relationship and 2-step kids as well. Like one of my new daughters came in with a money mindset, and I noticed it of math isn't my thing. I'm not good with numbers. I can't do this. Every single time, even when she's cooking, she would ask her brother or someone else for help to measure or to check it. What I noticed was she'd been primarily raised by her grandmother, like my now mother-in-law, who's lovely, beautiful woman. Same thing though. Same thing. And so it's ingrained in her from that generational raising, from that early age of I'm not good with math. She's just picked it up that that's what the woman says. This is what I should be doing. And that's the norm. And so therefore, by doing that, she never thought she was good at it. And so she wasn't. And so shifting that to go, okay, how can I help her to see that she doesn't need to say that anymore? As soon as she can shift that mindset and react a different way and say, actually, no, I'm good with this. I can work it out, or I'm okay. I'm good with math. Then that's when the shift happens, right? But when we have those little moments in our lives where we think we're not good at math, what happens when it comes to our money? We pass our money over to other people because we think we're not good with it. And they don't make the same decisions because it's not their money. They're not worried about it like you are. It doesn't affect them as much. So if you pass it over to hubby or a wife or an accountant or a bookkeeper, you might be a very small portion of their day that they're thinking about. Everything else is about them. And so you've got to be okay to go, okay, well, look, I realized that I had this block when I was younger and I was always like, I thinking I'm not good enough with money. So I haven't looked at managing my own money. I feel like I can't do it, but maybe I can now. Maybe that was just something silly that someone put in my head, like that throwaway line from an auntie or a nana or a mom that I took on that was just so silly that I don't need to. Actually, I can do this and I can learn this and it's a learned skill. And I think that's what a lot of people think, that money is hard and money is tricky and I'm not good with it. But actually money is so logical and it's actually an easy process that you can learn. And it's, for me, like it's something I've worked with for a long time. It's so logical to use. And yet we don't really get taught it at school. We don't really get taught how to multiply it or to use it. I believe because it keeps us in a system of working harder continually, right?
Yeah, because school really is really about following society's programs. It doesn't teach you how to stand in your own power, your own truth. It's always programmed that you have to work hard for your money. You have to do this, you have to do that. And it's like, well, why is that true?
Exactly.
And that's another thing too that I see with people that will do these affirmations that money comes easy to me. Well, yeah, but what about that subtle block that you have there?
Yeah. The affirmations, like, yeah, I definitely started there. I was like, "I'll incant this till I believe it. I'm gonna cold shower, incant it." And, you know, nothing worked until I cleared the blocks. And I don't know if, anyone here has read a lot of, um, literature on this, but this is something that, Richard Dotz goes into. I love his books, and you must clear it. You cannot get there without clearing it first. And whether you choose to clear it in there's so many different ways you can clear it, as you mentioned, but you've got to clear it
Right.
to be able
That's
to move forward.
right. Because like you said, we're never done. Nobody sticks a fork in you and say, "Oh, you're done." One.
No,
Nope. There's always something else. If people have questions, how can they reach out to you?
they can reach out to me on social media, on Instagram at I am Paula Day, or they can reach out to me on Facebook or LinkedIn, Paula Day Coaching or pauladay.com.au. If they'd like a free copy of my money playbook, please just reach out to me and I'm more than happy to send over a copy of this money playbook on how you can release those blocks and make a lot more money in your life.
Great. Thank you, Paula. Really enjoyed having you on the conversations.
Thank you very much, Baba Sam.